worked up. You guys, we're excited for this, that we're adding a little bit of education on our products, especially as we're moving into more supplements. Our products are so scientifically backed, and we have such an amazing team that does this. So we're excited to bring on this call Rebecca Major, and she is going to do some education for you. So Rebecca, time is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm just going to get my screen share going here in just a minute, but I'm really, really excited to talk about age lock science with you guys today. So this might be a little bit of a refresher for some of you, but I just want to, go way back to when we first launched age lock in 2008-ish, and really just give you an overview of what it means with Pharmanex and kind of just a recap of what it is. So, without further ado, age lock is all about targeting the sources of aging. So, as we get older, I know all of you have experienced this. I've experienced this. We start feeling some of the signs and symptoms as we get older, and a lot of products on the market really just try and target those signs and symptoms. And we want to do better. We want to do better at Nu Skin, and we know we can do better. And so our goal with ageLOC is to identify and address the sources of aging. And that is what ageLOC is all about, identifying those sources of aging and coming up with solutions to target and treat and really address those sources. So how do we do that, right? That's the trick. Well, we're going to go back in time again. So in the mid, 2000s, early 2000s, one of the prevalent theories was, or thoughts at the time, was that aging is inevitable, right? We inherit genes from our parents, and that's that. It is what it is, and we just have to deal with it. But we know now, and we knew way back when we launched ageLOC, that that is not the case. In fact, there is something we can do. Yes, our genes are set, but how they're expressed in our bodies, that is something we have some control over. And so how we live our lives, what we put in our bodies, what we put on our skin, all of that can influence the expression of our genes, and it can help them, for better or worse, to act more youthful or not. And so that is really the core of what we're doing with ageLOC. So what does that look like? So essentially what you can do is you can identify, and this is what we have done, we've identified groups of genes that are associated with different things that change as we get older. So right here I have an example on the screen of genes associated with energy and mitochondria in our cells. And in young cells, you can see that they act one way, but when we get old, they change quite dramatically and they have a very different gene expression profile. So this is called a heat map. It's essentially a snapshot of how active those genes are in different ages of individuals. And so in the young individual, you can see some of them are a lot more active, some of them are a lot less active. And in an old person, that's kind of flipped, right? And so if we can isolate these groups of genes for specific areas that we want to target, then we can actually start testing ingredients to see what exactly is going to have an effect on that gene expression and what is going to help those genes act more youthful. And so this is one of the earliest tests we did. We had these genes. Again, this is dealing with energy and mitochondria, and we gave those old individuals different ingredients, and then we tested their gene chips to see exactly how that gene expression changed when you added in those ingredients. And so we did that 5 different times, and you can see the results here on the screen. And one of them was a lot more impressive than the others, and that's number 4. So you can see here that when we gave them ingredient number 4, the gene expression went from that old pattern to this youthful pattern that you see here. It's very much more similar to the youthful pattern of gene expression we were going for. And so if you can screen ingredients like that, you can build products that really hone in and address at the source the underlying issues that we deal with as we get older. So I'm going to go through two examples today where we have done that exact process. The first is ageLOC R squared, and the second one is ageLOC Youth. These two products are fantastic. ageLOC R squared is going to target cellular purification and cellular energy production. And if that sounds familiar, that's because the heat maps you just saw were the very early iterations and research that we did when we were developing ageLOC R squared day. But we did take it a step further to build it out into ageLOC R squared day and night. So, and then ageLOC Youth, of course, is targeting healthy aging. So it's targeting the sources of that aging process, and we'll get into more of that in a minute. But first, I want to talk about ageLOC R squared. So we followed that exact screening process that I just explained, and we came up with two different formulas. So the ageLOC R squared day formula is cordyceps, ginseng, and pomegranate, and we put that together to form R squared day. And then the R squared night targets really cellular purification and detoxification processes in our body. And so that's powered by red orange grape seed extract and broccoli seed extract. So once we filtered through a bunch of different ingredients that we thought were promising, we narrowed it down to these 6 ingredients. Then we decided, let's repeat that gene test with the blend as a whole, or with these 2 blends, and we'll see how it impacts gene expression. And this is what we found, right? So we have our young target gene expression. This is what we're wanting to match. We have our old gene expression. You can see that's very different. And then when we give those old individuals these ageLOC blends, you can see it shifts that gene expression dramatically to be more youthful, both for cellular energy and for cellular purification. So really fantastic results. But here's the thing. This indicates it targets the sources of these issues, right? But does that translate into real world results? And that's really important, right? Even if we target the sources, if you don't feel a difference, if you can't tell a difference in real life, it's going to be hard to get people to stay on a product. And so we did some clinical studies. I don't have time to go into all of them today, but I'll give you just one highlight. We did a clinical study on R squared day in people and looked at cognitive function. And we had them take a battery of cognitive function tests over 12 weeks, and we measured how that changed over the course of 12 weeks. Now, if you take these tests over and over and over again, of course, you're going to get better at them. And you see that here with the placebo and the control group, these green and blue lines. They improved somewhat, but when you add R squared day into the mix, it improves even more. And that's that red line right there. And so we see really nice, meaningful changes in cognitive function. With R squared day, we see similar results in our testing dealing with physical energy and vitality. Like Kathy said, this is a fantastic product if you're looking to raise those baseline energy levels and just get that added boost, especially if you're doing a lot of physical activity. So this is targeting, again, gene expression related to mitochondrial energy production in the body, as well as cellular detoxification pathways. Okay, that's R squared. I want to talk now about ageLOC Youth. This is another really fantastic product. It is billed as our most advanced anti-aging supplement ever. But essentially what it does is it targets healthy aging or youth span. So youth span is the years you can enjoy your life being more active, energetic, and healthy. And normally as we get older, that tends to decline as we age, right? ageLOC Youth is all about expanding that and just helping you live life to its fullest for as long as possible. We're not talking about extending lifespan or anything like that. The FDA gets really, really upset if you start talking about that. But just really living life to its fullest and extending that youth span as much as we can. This is definitely a product in my personal supplement stack. This is one I cannot live without. I think this is just such an important thing to target for basically almost every adult. Okay, so how is it age lock? So age lock youth really was developed using gene expression insights into healthy aging. So what does that look like? For starters, we're looking at the whole body, right? Aging doesn't affect just one system. So we're looking at the whole body and we're looking at a much larger selection of genes um, because the aging process is really complex. So we look at typical aging, and these are all the genes we want to target. And then we had to identify some method of measuring healthy aging or measuring these gene expressions, this gene expression in a population that is aging in a healthy way, right? We need to have something we can target. And so, what we actually discovered when we looked at third party literature is that there's a lot of research on a healthy aging mimetic called caloric restriction. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on what that is, but essentially, at its core, it means that you reduce the number of calories that you eat every day, but you still get all of the essential vitamins and minerals and like essential micronutrients that your body needs to survive. So, this is a very effective strategy to support healthy aging. There's a bunch of research on it showing that it has fantastic health benefits, but it's not particularly fun to do and it's not very easy to maintain long term. So we wanted to come up with something that can really mimic the gene expression changes you see with this caloric restriction, but that doesn't actually make you do it, right? We want to get all the benefits without any of the drawbacks. And so we did that same screening process. We scoured the literature, we found a bunch of promising ingredients for healthy aging. We put them through that screening process to see what kind of impact they could have on these genes and how they're expressed. And we came up with a formula that became ageLOC Youth. And then we tested that formula again to see as a whole what impact it has on this particular set of genes. And this is what we found. You can see here that the gene expression is almost identical to healthy aging. This is fantastic, right? This is so incredible. But this is just one tissue. This isn't brain tissue. And we wanted to make sure that because this product works systemically throughout the body to support healthy aging in every system, we wanted to make sure that we got these benefits in other tissues too. So we repeated this study again in brain, heart, and muscle tissue. And again, we saw very similar results. You know, the typical aging group was very different, but the healthy aging and the ageLOC Youth groups were almost identical. In fact, we had the data analyzed by software as part of the study, and the software could not tell a difference between the ageLOC Youth group and the healthy aging group. That's how similar they were. So this just reaffirmed to us as scientists. We, of course, love to geek out over this kind of stuff, but it really reaffirmed that this is working throughout the body systemically to support gene expression associated with healthy aging throughout the body. Okay, but again, does that matter? It needs to translate to meaningful results in people, in your day-to-day life. So we started with the scientific literature to guide our initial screening process. We went through the gene expression research that we just talked about. Now we have clinical research as the third piece, the critical piece to really confirm that the changes we're making matter. And again, I don't have time to go through all the research. There is a ton of research on ageLOC Youth. There's several published studies. I'll just hit a few of the highlights today so that I don't take up too much of your time. But we did a study in skin health. Skin is one area that it's very easy to measure changes as we age. We've all seen the effects of age on our skin. And so we studied ageLOC Youth for 8 weeks in skin and saw really nice improvements in dermatologist grading, in self-assessment. So not only could a dermatologist tell a difference when they were blinded, but the people themselves could see a difference in their skin and also the instrumentation showed an improvement in elasticity. So really fantastic results. I do want to just put a little asterisk on this. These kinds of results are not common with supplements. I know they might feel more common because we have so many great products that help with skin health between this and Collagen Plus. But this is not normal for a supplement. You have to have a really good supplement to see these kinds of results. So great results in the skin. Of course, this is an SCS certified product, so we also see benefits with scanner score. You'll see benefits with Prism score. This is important because it's so motivating for people to see their score go up when they're taking something, to know it's being absorbed, to know it's working in the body. So we have that research too. And then the last study I just want to touch on briefly is we published a brain health study that showed improvements after 6 weeks on ageLOC youth in glutathione production. So glutathione is an intrinsic antioxidant. Your body produces it naturally. Super important in the brain for protecting our brain cells, protecting those neurons, and helping our brain purge all of the toxins that build up in our brain just through day-to-day life. So glutathione improved over 6 weeks, which is, again, almost unheard of with a supplement. And then we also saw an improvement in the ratio of glutamate to glutamine. You don't need to know what that is. Basically, it just means that there was more energy being produced in the brain. So again, really fantastic results here with brain health. Again, these studies really just illustrate this is working throughout the body. And so I encourage you, if you're not on ageLOC Youth already, to try it because it is a fantastic product. All right, I think I'm out of time, so I just want to wrap up by saying that we have a ton of research that we have done over the years since 2008 related to ageLOC products. And this is sort of a high-level overview of all of that research in a nutshell. We put a lot of resources into this because the science matters, and we want to make sure we're giving you the highest quality and the best products we possibly can. So without further ado, I will turn it back over to our hosts.